Hey, welcome to the Tech-Mex podcast. We're your hosts, Eric and Mando, and this is episode 42. We're bringing you the top stories in Bitcoin, tech, and wealth so you can buy a Lambo. Dale. Dale.
What color is going to be your Lambo, man?
In our one of our viral videos last week, I think our producer Katie did put a green Lambo on there. You know, that has a nice look to it.
I thought that you wanted a cyber truck, not a green Lambo.
Okay, I'll paint my not paint, but I'll wrap my cyber truck in green.
All right.
And I'll get the best of both worlds. I still don't think it's El Camino.
Oh, man, don't get me started. But anyways, let's start with this spot. That's a good topic, though, on viral, right? So we went viral. I just tried to see what other things have been going viral, and one of them is a chat GPT and OpenAI. They still hold the record. Basically, when the product launched in 2022, they reached to 100 million subs, monthly subs. So I don't remember anything else. I think that they still hold the record. And it's very hard to do, though. Very, very hard to do.
Yeah. I think they realized they had a hit on their hands because it spread like wildfire. And I think it's just because it had, everyone had a use case for it. It's kind of like just a better version of Google search, right? It's like everyone students could use it. People at work could use it. Creatives could use it to kind of come up with new ideas. Everyone could figure out a way that they could use this new technology and it applied to everything across the board.
And I think that they stumble upon this. Sometimes a lot of the greatest discoveries have been accidents. And I think that they discovered that with a lot of compute, they are able to mimic some of the intelligence, brute force. Sheer and mere brute force, right? Mm-hmm. It's just now the problem though is that they are losing some of those subs, so they're trying to find out how they can start expanding. Mm-hmm. And guess what is their next frontier?
So if you haven't heard, OpenAI is which is the ChatGPT company, right? They're announcing on Monday. Word on the street is that they're announcing a search engine.
So
what old is new again?
I think that is redefining a lot of these the whole market, right? And I think that a lot of companies, because it used to be a SaaS for everything, literally a service, right? Software as a service, mm-hmm. And you used to find like almost all of the good ideas were taken, right? And you saw very, very flat several years. But now with AI, I think that there are some challenges. And we saw it even with Alexa. They were trying to get you to start using it for shopping and for other type of behaviors.
Use cases.
Mm-hmm. Use cases. And it's taking a while, right? But I really think that we start kind of building on that ecosystem. It's unfortunate that Amazon didn't create the LLMs. It was another company that literally they took to another notch, right? And now maybe with this new search engine, OpenAI search engine, we'll see. Do you think that is going to be a different company pairing with Bing, or is going to be their own? What do you think that is going to be?
I don't know. There's a couple of different ways to approach it. In a way, it seems like they're already doing this, right? It's just really more of a repackaging. And in a way, it's because, Google's coming in hard, right? They're like, oh, man, ChatGPT, OpenAI, they got this really good head start in this one thing that seems to work. So Google's trying to catch up. So they're doing their own launches of a bunch of different things that are trying to attack them. So in a way, OpenAI and Microsoft, they're saying, well, we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to go after your business. So this is really good. This competition at the highest levels right here, really good for the consumer, right? We're going to get the best products because of this competition. And so what's been like one of the biggest complaints of like ChatGPT, OpenAI kind of stuff is this hallucinations, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's going to make stuff up. So that's part of what the announcement I've heard is that they're going to start including live web connections, right? For whenever you're asking ChatGPT these things, and the interface is going to change a little bit, so it's maybe more Google like, but it's going to start giving you citations, like, so you can verify that it's not just hallucinating or making stuff up.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to verify yourself. So that's going to be really key here.
I mean, at the end of the day, we'll see how it can sense because even reporters in Bloomberg and Reuters, all of that, right? All of the ones that you trust and like, sometimes they get it wrong. And it's just basically a series of reporters copying other reporters. And this could be the same, right? Like maybe it's going to give you a citation in like from Wikipedia, and we know that.
Still a citation, but not the highest quality, right? So
Yeah, I will be very curious to see how AI can still identify if it's like fake news, right? Like or like opinion based or
I know.
whatever it is, right? So
Mhm.
a lot of technical challenges, even for humans, is still very hard to figure out what is true and what is not true. So, but yeah, uh, if Google, we have been saying this in the pod, doesn't pay attention to this, they might die. And it's like, man, I'm a fan of Google. I use all of the shit from Google. So
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big Google supporter. I've been Team Android for the longest time. So yeah, and to that point, we saw a little bit of a dip of the Alphabet stock, which right is parent company of Google, right? So we're people are taking notice. There's this back and forth, and you know what's funny, man? OpenAI, Microsoft has been doing this forever, right? They know how to play this game. So they're making this announcement the day before Google's making their big announcement. So they're like, we got there first, you know. They're so
sure.
funny.
And it's the battle between these Indian CEOs, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're doing a little dance here for us.
So I
Oh
think
man.
that let's see how in the next few months how it turns out. But it's going to be very interesting for consumers. Start playing right now. Everything is free, right? A lot of this tooling, test them out, and sometimes it becomes part of your own habits. I remember you basically saying that you were using the Edge search. I don't have a Windows, but it's still kind of fun that you're using it already now, almost daily basis, multiple times.
Yeah, so let me explain that a little bit. So, again, I've been on all the Google products. So I use Chrome, right, just as default browser. But since Microsoft Edge, it's like who use Internet Explorer anymore, right? That's like so
Yeah,
like 20, 30 years ago,
Ramirez.
whatever. But they came out with the Edge browser, and it has the built-in Copilot, so it's always kind of there. So like I can ask it questions about whatever it is that I'm looking at on the screen. So it just makes it the workflow super easy, super quick. You don't have to open up a separate window or a separate tab, and it's just always there. And you can kind of ask it
Mhm.
its thoughts or ask it to summarize something. So that's really, really useful. So Microsoft is figuring out how to weave all of this technologies, all the OpenAI technologies, into their current products. So it's
Man,
becoming
and it's
very
probably they're
interesting.
losing money there though, because it's the GPUs are freaking expensive, and Nvidia obviously is coming like $1 trillion company,
Yeah.
and it's just and sometimes even that they have the money for other companies to buy them, there is no supply. So the
Market
whole
share. They're going after market share.
yes, so
Yeah.
very very interesting on the AI at the moment.
Yeah. So we'll talk about it next week, kind of what both Google and what OpenAI come out with this week. I think they're both going to talk about their big AI plans. So it'll be very, very interesting. Hopefully everything stays free. So we can
I doubt it
continue to
though,
play
but
with all the
we'll
cool
see, we'll
toys.
see.
I know,
I mean,
right?
at the end of the day, the business models is like right now everything is ads, right? Like YouTube ads, right? Like even Twitter, it was ads.
Mm-hmm.
Elon was trying to do the blue badge, but not a lot of people wanted to pay for that. So they have to switch. OpenAI started to do kind of the subscription for the upper tier, but maybe they'll go back again to ads. Who knows, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We'll see kind of how it goes. By the way, like I remember last week or the week before we talked a little about there was this mystery open AI. version that came out that was maybe
Hmm.
like partially, they were calling it GPT-2.
GPT-2.
Um, and apparently it leaked online. So I'm going to see if I can get my hands on it, see if there's any way that I can run it locally. That might be kind of cool. But, some people were saying, it's kind of similar to GPT-5, but they're saying GPT-5 is not going to be released this week. So it's still a little bit premature for that. But I know they're
Yeah.
saying that it's coming.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So more news, man. This week was interesting on news. For the next section, we have in technology, Apple. So what is this ad flop? I didn't have a chance to review it before the pod, but what is it?
So let me explain, set the stage a little bit. So this ad flop, and by the way, it hasn't been aired on TV commercials yet, right? I think they started
Hmm.
airing this like online and stuff, but it's basically like it. You just see this big, like monolithic, dark looking room, and it has a bunch of like creative stuff. Like you see a piano, you see some toys, you see some stuffy things like the Angry Bird stuff, things like that. Um, and paintbrushes, like all the things that humanity is known for, creative stuff, and ostensibly what people are using the iPad for, right? It's like they use it for art, for music creation, for consuming, video and websites. So
Hmm.
they have all of this physical manifestations of the things that you can do with your iPad. And then all of a sudden, you see this crushing like big piece of steel coming and crushing everything in half. So you see it like everything, all these things that you love and care about being destroyed. And at the end of it, it finishes squishing everything and it opens back up and it's an iPad. Okay. So like you can interpret it like a couple different ways. And
Sure.
this is what has come out. Like a lot of these kind of celebrity reactions have been like, what the hell? Apple's killing all the stuff that I love. Like what are they, why are they doing this? And they're taking it further. They're talking about how, yeah, AI and super technology and all this stuff, it's really destroying humanity is what they're saying.
Mm.
So people are like getting philosophical on this, right? They're like, dude, it's just an ad. Yeah, it's a new iPad. Like, what are you talking about?
Sure.
But the way Apple does everything is super cinematic, right? So it starts evoking like real feelings, like, oh, like crap, this is what we're heading towards. Like AI is going to take over. We're going to lose our humanity. It's all going to go away. And so I don't know if Apple thought it was going to go like this. Like, were they trying
It's
to make something controversial?
I don't think so. I think that it's basically they are yeah they care about the quality and all of that, but it's about the emotion. It would be interesting to try to see what is the emotion that they were trying to go after and
Yeah.
completely backslash, right? Like
Backfired. Like they
backfire
missed the
like big
mark
time.
a lot on this one, I think.
Yes, so or maybe too much emotion there, right? It's like, oh crap, like
They went too
so
far.
they went too far. So man, poor Steve Jobs.
He's rolling around somewhere right now.
Is rolling around like what the heck are you guys doing with Apple brand?
Yeah.
So and I think that this is an also on the other topic that came out this week. Who's gonna be the next successor for Tim Cook, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple of people that they are contenders for that. There is these speculations, right, that maybe could be between John Ternus, which I think that's what I put my money on,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically the hardware guy. And the reason why they are saying this is because Tim's Cook, basically Tim is getting to a closer to a retirement age,
Mm-hmm.
basically to be like with Biden. so so it's like yeah, I think that very soon we're gonna start seeing new faces to try to see uh, the other guy is the COO,
Mm-hmm.
which usually some of those guys are the ones that they run, and his name is Jeff Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two contenders for the company. Which one do you think that it will be? The guy that can operate, or the guy that can build hardware?
This is a tough one because Apple's kind of a different kind of company. I see it as it should be a person that has the right kind of passion. Um, Obviously, Steve Jobs had that passion and was able to really understand what the customer wanted or needed. So it's really hard to tell. Now, secondary to that, I think, right, hardware, Apple's always been kind of this hardware. They want to have the highest quality, the best
Mhm.
materials, things like that. So John Turnus is probably a shoe-in. The COO maybe is, third in line for that. Yeah, they got to keep the company running. So it's pretty interesting. But I wonder if this was Tim Cook's are you like it's like, hey, congratulations, you're the new leader of Apple. Time for you to figure out what to do with this mess that I just created.
Yeah, yeah.
Assuming it was him that that really gave the thumbs up on this ad. It's just kind of very weird. The timing is just very, very bad. Like with AI coming out and people are worried about taking their jobs, and this big monolithic machine, Apple's machine, is crushing all this stuff that people really care about and that people think has to have a human touch, and then it's
I
replaced by
have
an
to
iPad.
I have to
Mm-hmm.
watch it because they always were the opposite. They were actually giving you the tool because that was literally Steve Jobs thinking that technology will help you to enhance you as a human, not come and replace you or destroy you and crush you. Right. So I think that yeah, they missed the mark. I need to watch the ad. One of my favorite ads of all time is one of for the Misfits, right? Like back in the
Oh.
80s when that was a great
Mm-hmm.
ad. Um, but it is crucial that they also need to understand how their positioning and all that because there's a lot of loyal customers. Well, I'm one of them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I have like Mac products because the quality is just nice. I mean, I have my headset, my mouse, my computer, right? Like my kids they have iPhones, so it's pretty good. But I'm surprised that they mess it up with that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And by the way, I think they already said that okay, they're not going to air the ad on TV. Like they're already backing away from it. So, ooh.
Yeah,
Oh gosh. Well, yeah. So we'll keep you guys in the loop here on this. And by the way, if you guys are enjoying the content, just remember to like and subscribe. I just thought I'd throw that in there right now before we move to our next section,
Bitcoin, right? So,
Bitcoin.
so tell me, man. It seems like we are very flat for the past few weeks. Price wise is like hovering over 60k, right?
Yeah. So
For
this
those
is the boring
people,
part of Bitcoin. People's like, come on, Bitcoin, do something. Come on, Bitcoin. They're just kind of waiting around.
this is pretty good in my opinion. That is finding a support. It's gonna make it even the longer, believe it or not, the longer the better, right? To make a very
Hmm.
strong base, and then we just go parabolic, right? Uh, is testing this area. It's part of the volatility, but remember, it's kind of like you have your bulls versus your bears, and
Hmm.
this is basically trying to create that supply demand. So for me, it's a good sign. For most people, they think that is boring, right? But
Hmm.
investing should be boring. I don't think that it should be thrilling. If you want to do thrilling stuff, just go to Vegas.
That's what Vegas is for, baby.
Yes, that's thrilling, right? So, or just poker, right? Like whatever Texas Hold'em, and you can get some fun there, gambling.
It's so
But yeah,
true.
I think that's what I think, and tell people that just it's part of the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, for sure. So this time, like you say, when we're finding this new strong support level, this is where bears turn into bulls, right? So what we saw this week, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, they haven't really dipped their toes, or at least publicly haven't dipped their toes into the Bitcoin ecosystem. Well, guess what? They're jumping in now. So they are now investing in Bitcoin ETFs. JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and sure to follow are going to be a bunch of others. So again, we said these institutional spot ETFs, They were going to generate a lot of this interest. It takes time to steer a ship, though, right? So we're just now seeing some of these big banks starting to start adding Bitcoin to their portfolios and try to sell it to their customers, and we're just going to see more of this, right? We're going to see BNY Mellon do this, BNP Paribas do it. All of these guys are starting to get into Bitcoin. Morgan Stanley, UBS, they're all going to start considering selling it to their clients and things like that. So while, yes, we're going largely sideways, we are building support. Bears are turning into bulls. They're going to start dipping their toe in there, and they're going to start selling it to their customers. So this is all really, 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 really good for Bitcoin.
Yeah, and I think that is just like when you are planting a tree, right? Money is like that. You are expecting to get like an apple right away. Talking about apple. so and I think that that's where the expectations is like it takes time to make solid roots, right? And then that way you start growing. But once that is giving you fruit, man, you got a lot of fruits, and then you can even plant other trees and things like that, right? So I think that if you see uh, investing in that way is quite healthy. Talking about Apple, I just remember a story again about Elon Musk. So when I was over there with him, he was pretty upset on the amount of fees that Apple gets, because also they are getting a lot of fees for the products that you sell within their ecosystem in the App Store. So he came. I was in Bay Area. He came. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna talk to to Tim, to Mr. Cook." So then actually he tweeted. All of this is public because he tweeted. And then after the meeting, he's like, "Oh, nice installations, nice Apple installations."
Uh,
So I think that what happened is that probably this is just me, right? Speculating. It's like, hey, man, if you just like keep saying shit about Apple, we'll take out your Twitter application, right? Like
oh,
of the
yeah.
market. So I think that that's what basically happened. He didn't mention anything, but he tweeted, oh, Apple has nice installation. It was nice chatting with him.
That's right.
So
Uh,
yeah, that was funny.
that's how you, I mean, the platform, when you're the platform, it's really nice. You hold a lot of control. You can block whatever you want, or encourage whatever you want. So
Hmm.
makes people play nice sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about platform, I think that let's jump into the next topic though. Wealth. We sometimes people around us they are asking us kind of different ways, and we have different ages, different in different stages. And sometimes you might hear people when they have kind of make it a little bit, right? How uh, to get some insight on what it is. And one of them that has come up multiple times for me has been leverage. I do notice people don't understand it, and because they don't understand it, sometimes they don't know how to use them. And I think that is a simple concept, but sometimes it kind of takes you time to grasp. And even myself, to be honest, several like years, I did it very instinctual, but it took me some time to incorporate it on my tooling. So let's start from the basics though. Literally, what is leverage? Um, and there are many ways to describe it, right? But I really like what Archimedes. I don't even know how to pronounce the the Greek name, right? So I'm probably butchering his name, but basically
No, it's good.
he was a mathematician, philosopher, scientist, and engineer. I mean, it's just those guys are multifaceted. And he used to say something like, "Give me a place to stand, and I basically with a lever I will move the whole world." And it's just picture the guy, right? Like somebody that gives you like a lever, and then you can move an object. And there's a lot of physics, a lot of psychology, a lot of philosophy there, but there is a lot of truths about that's what you need to use leverage for, something that you want to move. In some cases might be your business, in some cases might be a movement, a brand, a product, whatever it is, and you need leverage. And the sooner, in my opinion, that people understand that one, they can they can scale, because you can be very brilliant. I mean, we you were telling me this week about your nephew, right? But like when these people like very young, sometimes it's hard for them to know how to leverage this. I'm telling my kids, right, as well, how to how to understand leverage, because it took me a while. It was a topic that I was not taught, or the people that I was around me. There was no YouTube, right? Now it's like there's a lot of information out there, and I'll break it out in different topics. But before I jump there, what's your take there?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's super important. It gives you the ability to scale your efforts into more. Because if you think about it, if you see your time as like 1 to 1, you have to put in work to get some type of an output.
Mhm.
1 to 1 to do something huge or to do something great is going to take a monumental effort from one person. But there are ways to scale that so that your 1 unit of effort can scale into maybe 10 units of effort, right? And so that's kind of what we're talking about in terms of leverage. There's ways of using it. And a lot of people will do things like intuitively without like having some type of academic knowledge or background on it, because in a lot of ways it does make a lot of sense, right? Um, so I think this is a really good topic for us to touch on, especially for folks that are starting out. They haven't necessarily used any leverage or like loans, because you can do it with money also, right? And so just to give you ideas, get the juices flowing, start to understand how you as a person can start multiplying your efforts so that you get maximum or optimal outputs.
Yeah, and there are many ways to leverage, but the more common ones are people, capital, code, and media, right? So let's start with the first one, with people. Um, when I was young, like maybe 18, 19 years old, I have been always an entrepreneur, and I like products, I like tech. But in that time, I was seeing that the opportunity in Mexico was uh, to provide services for IT services, and one of them was for business to business, to be able to add security and networking and internet. Now that you have a lot of ISPs that is kind of commoditized, but in that time it was hard for businesses to get access. There were only a few companies, and they needed kind of integration, right? But my time was limited. I was only one person. So very intuitively, when you're building a business, that's the one that people understand better. It's like, well, I need help. It's like I need another person, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's literally what I did when I was almost a teenager. I started getting more people, which is I was able to duplicate my time just by incorporating somebody in my team, uh, which in this case it was a friend of mine, George, and we just started literally working there, and then we start growing the team. Then you start hiring, then you start having to create a structure, because I don't know if you have seen a diagram where you see the level of communication, how it goes exponentially when you are adding somebody to that
Mhm.
network of people, right? And it gets harder and harder the more people that you add. Even if you have the money to pay the salaries, you have to understand how to create a structure, how
Mhm.
to lead
You have to have
basically, and that's
managers to start
you have
managing people. Yeah.
yes.
It's one of the basic things, right? And you're doing project management. The more people that are involved, the more complex a project it's going to get. So you have to start putting systems in place to start controlling that.
Which is also interesting because now the new tendency is to flatten. Like
Hmm.
it used to be very like almost a pyramid, and you have like a even sometimes when you were telling, "Hey, I have a business," and your family will ask, "Oh, how many people is in your business?" It was kind of like a badge to say I have 50 people or 100 people.
Hmm.
I don't know now, man. It's like I think that the less people is sometimes even more interesting because you can scale. Like if you can scale it, which maybe we'll discuss the other topics. But you see, like the creators of WhatsApp or the Snapchat or even Instagram, 10 people, 50 people, right? So and they were able to serve almost 100 million people and now billions of people.
Yeah,
So yeah,
definitely.
number one is people, and I think that that's very intuitive. The second one is capital. I think that most people are familiar, at least in America and US, with loans and mortgages and all of that. But it's funny that they only use it for debt to be able to use buy things, right? Like your car. uh,
Depreciating assets.
yes, basically, right?
Hmm.
Instead of actually, if you use that debt to buy an asset, and sorry that I'm going and using some of these terms that finance people use, but I think that that's sometimes where I think that if you don't understand these terms, it's harder. But they're very simple. Basically, the way to see an asset is something that is helping you to produce money. So instead of actually the depreciating asset, right, which is losing money. And I think that that's where, uh, in my opinion, capital is very interesting because if you have a business already and you're trying to buy a machine and you don't have the money for it, then you get a loan to be able to do that. Then you might be able to scale. So capital is a very interesting, and I think that once that you have a whole, there's a lot of money out there. Sometimes I hear people, no, there's like my grandpa. I love my grandpa, passed away a few years, but he always will have a very pessimistic view. It's like, no, there's not enough money. No, there is no like and I mean, I love the guy to death, but in my opinion, he was wrong. And before, when I was younger, I couldn't see or tell my grandpa why I felt it. But now I can see, it's like, for me, I see the sky and there is a bunch of asteroids just filled out with the metal and material and gold, it's so abundant. It's so fucking abundant, right? Which is just a mindset shift. So I think that it's others people money. Basically, you can shorten to others people's money.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I think for a lot of folks in this generation, it's in the current generation that are kind of in this adulthood area where they're maybe just start looking at buying houses. Right now, it's actually kind of really hard because rates are kind of high. So the cost of leveraging is a little bit higher than normal, or at least a little higher than it's been over the last, 15, 20 years or so, right? But historically, I think in the 80s, I think the rates were pretty high here in the
10% or
US,
even more. It
right?
got up to 20%, I believe, like
Up to 20%. In
something like that. Like
Mexico, rates are like
Mexico
at
is
11,
10,
12% or
10,
something.
11. My parents, they were paying that for their mortgage for, I mean, 20, 30 years. I mean, it's like that's the norm for everyone. But um, I think that is excuse, though. Yes, it's harder. But even in Mexico, right, some countries, they Europe is a different story, though. Europe, we had like 1%, right? They almost and remember, they
And the
almost sometimes
banks are
charge you
losing money
to.
there.
Banks are losing money. That's the reason why having money in the bank sometimes it was you almost have to pay
Yeah.
to leave your money
Negative
there,
interest
right?
rates.
Negative
Right.
interest rates. So
Yeah.
so it's just funny the whole economy across globally.
So this is what we're talking about, right? When we're talking about, leveraging, it's really like a mortgage is a very common theme what people look at. Also, if you get a loan to buy a car, that's another one. However, a lot of people say, okay, a loan on a house is generally a good thing because a house tends to grow in value over time just because it's growing with inflation also. So you're at least going to keep up with inflation, and a lot of times you're going to do a little bit better than inflation with owning real estate. However, and you get use out of a house, you live in it.
Mhm.
So there's good places to do leverage and maybe some bad places. A lot of people think an example of a bad place to use leverage is a car, depreciating asset. The value falls over time, and sometimes it falls very quickly. However, you still have a loan that you're paying, and you're paying interest. So whoever holds the loan and making the interest, it's good for them because they want to make money off giving you a loan. So you can think of it like that. That's a form of leverage of capital. Famously, there's Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is out there saying, you got to buy everything cash. You can't have any loans. You try to have to get rid of all your debt. Yes, that is a form of approaching life. But in a lot of ways, it can hold you back if you're trying to have growing assets and things like that. So, you know, there's two sides of the coin. Yes, if you want to grow, if you want to grow fast, if you want to do certain things, you're going to need to use leverage to your advantage.
Yeah.
Other people may not be interested in that, so they're not going to use leverage, and they might adopt Dave Ramsey's approach of having zero debt, pay everything in cash, and things like that. It's just two different approaches.
And people are thinking on banks, because what is others people's money? We didn't say about a financial institution, right? You can ask your mom, your dad, like, hey, lend me some money. Don't charge me the interest rate
Could be
from
a
these
free
guys.
loan,
If it
even
could be
better.
exactly zero interest rate, right? So I think that that's the reason why we are mentioning it, because there are many ways to win in this game, and it doesn't have to be ours. It's just ours perspective, and we're just giving you multiple perspectives. Um, so the other approach for, I really like the example that you brought on real estate, but also what it will be for me interesting is for people to see the leverage in different way. Rich people like to double money. I don't know why. It's an easy or mentally, like how fast I can double my money. You'll
Mhm.
always hear them saying that. And I think that maybe it has to do with some biology, right? Like you have all of these two cells and everything kind of
You want to
breaks apart,
reproduce?
reproduce. So in that way, similar, right? So because at the end of the day, money is energy. Your time that you're spending in your life when you're working, you're literally giving your life, your energy life for that, right? So, uh, and then going back to the example of the house, you are basically leveraging, let's call it that if you are putting 20%, I know that some instances you can even put less, even better, but let's say that even you put 20%, that means that you are doing 5 to 1. Like you are putting from that 100%, if a house is 500K, then you only put 100K, then somebody's lending you all of that. That means that you are moving that amount of money to be able to have this asset. So as you were mentioning, as the asset gets increased and inflation and all of that, your money is not growing only on the 100K. It's growing in the amount that they lend you, which is the 500K, right? And that's what I think that sometimes people don't realize, that you are actually growing your tree, only if you're looking into plants, right? Let's say that you just put a little seed and the whole extra is just making it way bigger. And I think that that's where people don't realize that sometimes with the debt, like the Dave Ramsey, I'm not okay with that tactic, because then you have to wait 20, 30 years for you to have the money to afford in cash a house. Yeah, right. Then almost sometimes you cannot even catch inflation, right? Because you are working hard and all of that. Uh, if you don't leverage, money sometimes can run faster than you. Then,
Yep.
in that point. But yes, I think that that's kind of the thing. And yes, you have to watch interest rates. But let's say that you are getting married right now, and you want a house. Like, what, you want to wait 20 years, right, until maybe interest rates comes down. It's hard. You're gonna have to make a
Mhm.
decision. You're gonna have to buy the bullet and just do it.
Yep. Yeah. It's really funny. I can visualize what you say. Like the money's going to uh, I guess run away from you. It's going to outrun you.
Hmm.
I can see like if inflation is a train, you got to hop on the train so it doesn't leave you behind. Because
Yes.
if you don't keep up with inflation, or if you don't keep up with that train, you're going to fall behind. So that's why a lot of people see a home as their first way or an easy way to at least keep up with inflation, because you'll have this big asset that will be growing along with inflation, hopefully, and sometimes even more. So that's so that at least you're not being left behind. You can at least keep up with everyone else. Then you can figure it out as a starting point. How can you launch yourself forward from there too? So
Yep.
there's, I
And
guess, like steps and phases to this, right?
yeah, and if obviously you have more assets, and some of them, those are even collectibles. That's the reason why rich people, they always buy like paintings, and now Bitcoin, right? Going back for us, that's the reason why we see almost a collectible, a store of value, because there's
Mm-hmm.
only X amount of Bitcoins, right, in the market. So, but yeah, before, rich people, they were putting on a Monet, on a Picasso, on land, right? On different places where all of those are assets. Um, and I think that that's what we are trying to mention here. So that was number two. The number three is coding, is technology. Imagine that you have a business that you are selling like t-shirts or shoes or whatever. You are manufacturing them, and then you start adding a machine, and it can literally work. Your robots or whatever can work 25 around the clock, right? Like 24 hours.
25 hours a
I
day.
wish, man.
That'd
I
be
wish.
awesome. I was
I
like,
can sleep
we
another hour.
invented some new physics here.
It's a quantum time. But
Quantum
yeah.
time, yeah.
So yeah, and I think that that's the other one is this one we are seeing with AI, and a lot of people is very afraid of this, and we continue to say, man, just embrace it. Look at the previous ones when we were probably farmers as a humans, right? Oh shit, you have this tractor, whatever, right? Or then the industrial revolution. uh, Technology is basically kind of fusioning with humanity, and it's happening, and it's like nobody's gonna stop it, right? So there have to be some certain rules, like for AI. I think that government has to help to guide it. Has to be more transparent, have to understand how you are training these, right? So, but at the end of the day, I think that we also can use code for leveraging. Most of the wealthiest people on the list, guess what? They are techies. So there's a lot of there where you can scale it, and maybe you can think, well, what happens if I'm not techie? So what do you think about that, Ramirez? How we can guide these people that they are
Well,
not very programmers or things like that, right?
yeah, you mentioned the word techie or technology, right? But like you mentioned, it doesn't necessarily have to be coding, right?
Hmm.
Sure, coding is a way where one person can write one piece of code to do one thing, but then it can run kind of forever, essentially, right? With minimal interaction. So that's a very good way of scaling. You don't necessarily have to do it that way. You can think of it in other terms. Like I think you maybe alluded to it a little bit. Manufacturing. If someone's making a shirt, yes, one person can sew one shirt and they make one shirt at a time. So it's just one unit of shirts. But they can use technology or leverage technology to have a shirt making machine. So you have a factory that's making shirts. So now instead of one person making one shirt at a time, this one person can run the machine that makes 10 shirts at a time. So this is kind of another way. It's still technology. It's just not necessarily coding, but it's using machines and things like that. Industrial revolution. You mentioned farmers. Farmers can use tractors. They don't have to go pick certain things, vegetables or whatever crop it is that they're growing one at a time. They use a machine and they can go do a whole acre at a time, right? So that's how you start scaling and using technology to leverage better to leverage your time a little bit better.
Yeah, and just to keep putting that picture in your minds, the ultimate duplication of a product is software, because it almost is the cost of duplicating it is almost null, it's almost zero compared to making another t-shirt. If I need to make another T-shirt and send it and ship it to other place in, I don't know, in India, it's gonna take time to even just to manufacture it and distribute it. Compare just to literally copying and pasting a piece of technology or a piece of software or an application, and that's the reason why software is kind of the ultimate scale factor. You can
Yeah.
scale it. Yes, there is some implications, but that's the reason why you have a group of 10 people or 50 people serving to 1 billion people, like in Instagram,
And think
because you
about
can duplicate it.
this. I think that's one of the things that people are thinking about AI right now. So right now, you can have one person to make a piece of code that can scale to like a billion people, right? But now think about it. If you have AI that's replacing the person typing the code, now you can have one person telling an AI, an army of AIs to do the same thing. And now you're scaling, unlimited AIs doing unlimited amount of work or impacting unlimited amount of people. It just scales very, 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 very quickly. So that is like the magic formula there in AI is that it's going to allow a lot of leverage for the person that holds the keys to AI.
Yeah, and that's where I think that a foundation for us to be interstellar, right? Like literally get out of this planet and then start just uh, doing some other things, because now the game might not be here in Earth, right? Like now the game is gonna be special. Probably we won't be here to see some of that, but it's just building that foundation. So I'm not too pessimistic about that, because if Earth is not the place, you're probably gonna be outside. So the universe is abundant. But yeah, code is the next one.
Yeah, a fun note on that though. So I was at a graduation at Texas A&M. Whoop, this this last Friday, and during the graduation ceremony, they for those that aren't familiar with A&M, they graduate a lot of people that go into like military and things like that. So you see other people with in their formal dress, like for the Marines, the Navy, the Army, all of these different things. But they have
Space
obviously
Force.
something new. Space Force, you got it. So there, I think we're 3 graduates that went into Space Force in this graduation that we went to, and I'm like, man, that's so cool. It's like I wonder what the sales pitch is. There is they're gonna go. They're telling them they're gonna go into space, or what are
I
they
went
doing?
to I went to a, I don't know, like a conference, and I saw a booth, and I went to ask questions, and I was too old, man. I couldn't register for be part of the reserves for Space Force.
They're like, we see that white hair coming a mile away, man.
Yeah, like whatever. I think that was 30, 38 or 39. I forgot, but
Oh,
like
okay.
whatever, guys. It's your loss.
Yeah, that's true. It was the same thing, like to be like I think federal agent or something like that. I was looking at, just for fun to see what was out there. But yeah, they have an age cutoff, so
Yeah,
you can't become
ageist.
an agent. Ages. I know they need to adjust that with all this longevity stuff that's going on.
Yeah,
We're all gonna
like
live longer.
yeah, I think that maybe it they have to probably update the rules, because people like us probably we can provide other type of things, right? Instead of just literally fighting the aliens. I mean, it could be intellectually fighting the aliens.
Fighting aliens. Yeah. No, man, they're
So
gonna be our friends.
yeah. Anyway, they are among us already,
Yeah.
man. So, and I think that Zuckerberg is one of them. But anyways,
Yeah.
the last one though in the list is media, and I leave that to the end, because that's literally what we're freaking doing here, man. I think that the power of media, maybe the youngsters don't remember, but not many years ago, it was only radio and TV, and it was very hard to get into those, because they will charge you for to if you wanted to run a show, or if you wanted to do an ad, depending, like even in the Super Bowl, it was millions and millions still today, but it was literally very very hard to get into media. Now you can do a TV show, you can do Tech-Mex Tech-Mex podcast, right? Like come on, you
Yeah.
can do like any show that you want, and influencers. And I think that that's where you can create a media empire, and that's the other way to scale. Whether you're doing a product, a brand, your social recognition, right? I mean, these billionaires, um, Jeff Bezos, right, have the Washington Post, and as well, in this case, Elon with Twitter and now X. So they own these media empires, because that's one of those avenues to be able to scale.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the idea behind a lot of this podcast. Before, it was really hard to get a message out to a lot of people. But now, with the advent of this, and right, YouTube's been around for a long time already now at this point. But, it gives us a chance to easily reach a lot of people, to find our audience, for us to gravitate towards each other, and for us to help each other out. So this is all really good. It's a great way to be able to scale and leverage your message. So I think it's a really good way of doing that.
Nice. What is your message to this community and audience, Ramirez? Let's
Don't
give them a
forget to like,
reminder.
subscribe, and comment. We
Exactly.
love to hear from you. Leave a comment when something grabs your attention. Let us know you want to see more of that. If you haven't watched our viral Bitcoin all-time high meme remix, go check it out. We're just about at 10,000 views, so we'd love to see that interaction from y'all. And also, our second one is also at 2,000 views. I think that's all that we've got for today. Dale.
We have a good one. Bye.